I want to talk to you today about life's challenges, navigating them specifically, moving through them, and cultivating courage and resilience to deal with them. Okay, and the term challenge is very broad. We have so many different challenges in our life, and we actually want challenges in our life. I think our souls would be bored if we didn't have challenges to face. You know, my boys completely love the challenge of competing in a basketball game, or, you know, trying to beat their personal best time in a running race or whatever that is. And having that ability to meet challenges and face them and do our best and show up, that's huge. It's a big part of being human and enjoying being human and learning to be effective and learning to cultivate strength and skills and all of that. But there are also those challenges that they don't necessarily result in that rush of adrenaline or that excitement, and they show up in our lives and we go, oh my God, why do I have to deal with this? Why is this happening to me? What is going on? You know, I wish I didn't have to do this. And sometimes these things can be really big, and sometimes they can be really small, on any level. And we might want to call it adversity, you know, something that seems to stand in our way or block our path. As opposed to just the term challenge, right? The kinds of things that trigger our emotions, that trigger us to feel something maybe intense, maybe very difficult, maybe something that we want to avoid, triggers our fight, flight, or freeze response, those kinds of things, right? Well, in looking at these kinds of challenges, when they come up, one of the first things we want to do is allow ourselves the process of grieving, because usually what happens is there's a grieving process. Something has happened that we don't want, or something has happened that perhaps, grief we often think of as loss. So often when something adverse comes into your life, it's adverse because you lost an opportunity for something else to happen, or, you know, you lost the perspective maybe that you thought things were going to be like, and now it's gone. And so there's often this process of saying, wow, can I just let myself grieve this for a moment? And I'm talking about even the stages of grief. You know, often we deny it first. You know, I don't want that. No, that's not real. This isn't happening. I don't want to even look at that. That's not happening. We go through that, and we often then get angry. We start just raging at the world and being pissed off that this is happening, and why is this happening? Why does this have to happen to me? You know, what's going on? This is so difficult. This is so unfair, and lashing out at people, and feeling that intense anger. And we go into depression often. You know, we have these moments where we're just like, God, I need to check out. I can't deal with this. I'm gonna stay in bed today. I'm not going to face the world. I'm going to sit on my couch and eat ice cream all day, or whatever it is, right? Those depressed feelings, those deep moods, dark moods that can really, just kind of put us in a funk. The key is to be moving through the grief. We have to allow the grief, recognize the grief, and allow those feelings to happen. Allow ourselves to notice, like, okay, I'm noticing I don't want to accept this right now, or I'm noticing I'm really angry, or I really don't feel good right now, and I just feel incredibly low emotionally, and I can't face this. Life feels horrible right now. It's important to honor that, to allow the grieving. And then, of course, we often do the bargaining. Well, maybe if I do this, I won't have to deal with that. Or maybe if I offer this, I can get rid of this situation, right? And the reality is we ultimately all have to come to acceptance. And that is why it's so important, first and foremost, when we're dealing with adversity, to allow the grief. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Notice the trigger that you feel. Notice the emotions that you feel. Allow that to be there. And then when you come to that place of greater acceptance. And by the way, those stages of grief, they're not linear. Nothing in any of the journeys I talk about or teach are linear. We don't go through things in a step-by-step process and neat and tidy and clean it all up, right? Our soul's going to revisit anger and revisit depression and revisit bargaining here, there, and everywhere. And we'll come to some acceptance, and then maybe we go back to anger a little bit. And it kind of bounces around. But the good thing is that if you allow yourself to pay attention to it and notice it, you will come to that place of greater acceptance. Okay, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I have in front of me. And I want to point something out. Acceptance is not agreeing with it. It is not resignation to it. It's just acceptance. Really, what acceptance is all about is presence. Here I am in this present moment. This is what's going on. This is what's happening in my life. This is what I have before me to deal with. So when we can come to that place of accepting and understanding that accepting is not resignation, it's not just agreeing with everything that's happening, that you still have the opportunity to act, to change your circumstances, to learn from things, then we can continue to move on. From that place of acceptance, we then can look at our options. What are our options in this situation? It's like, okay, I have a situation here. I'm going to share an example from my life, okay, that I've been dealing with actually for the last year, and it's been really intense and very challenging. And I feel like I'm finally kind of coming out of this and being able to see how this cycle unfolded for me. I worked with these tools that I'm talking about, and I watched it unfold, and I'm still watching it unfold. I think sometimes the things that are happening for us, they really can take a tremendous amount of time. What I want to give the example of, I'm actually going to share a link in the description here to a video of a presentation, a 5-minute fun story slam talk that I gave last year. And it had to do with coming out of a surgery that I had that dealt with a health challenge that I was dealing with for some time. And in that talk, I finally thought this health challenge was over. I thought I had come through it, and I was finally going to get to move on in my life. This was in June of 2018. In October of 2018, I had an incident where I injured myself, and I'm kind of back in this boat of trying to figure out what am I going to do in my situation, okay? And I'll share the link to the video so I won't have to share all the details with you. But ultimately, what I had to do was go through that grieving process. I had to come to that place of acceptance. Yes, I'm dealing with this again. This situation isn't over. It's not at all what I wanted to be experiencing. It's not at all what I wanted to be facing. But here I am. And I came to that place eventually to a fuller acceptance. And in that acceptance, I began to look at, okay, so what are my options? What can I do about this? But basically, I started to look at my options and say, okay, from that place of center, I've come to acceptance. I teach people in my coaching and classes and whatnot how to come to center and a groundedness, a place where you can really tap into the stronger you, the more courageous you, the you that really does have courage and resilience to deal with life's challenges. We are given what we can deal with. I promise you. It may not seem like it all the time, but we absolutely are, and you have it within you to work with whatever life throws at you. So I started looking at the options. This is what we want to do. Once we come to that acceptance, we look at our options and we say, what can I do from this place of openness, from this place of centeredness? And we move into openness. We want to come to that place where we say, what is the lesson here for me? What are the lessons that I can learn from this experience? I don't want to be attached in that kind of a situation. In other words, we need to be completely open to the lesson. In my situation, I had to be completely open to the idea that I had more to learn with this health journey that I've been on. I have more to learn. There's something more that I'm needing to discover. And as it turns out, it's been tremendous. And I am sure that in future videos and articles and whatnot, I will be sharing a whole lot from this journey, because I am blown away at what it has been teaching me to then be able to share with others. And it's been helping me go so much deeper in my life, which is what challenge and adversity does, right? It takes us deeper into ourselves, and it helps us meet those things and really face the depths of our being. And so coming to that place of looking at options, being very open, not attached to an outcome. I don't necessarily know exactly what the lesson is, but I'm just going to be open to it. I don't necessarily know exactly why this happened. I'm just going to be open to it. I'm not going to have judgment. I'm not going to be attached to outcomes. That's what it means when I say we need to be open. Okay, so we're moving through the grieving process. We are we're coming to acceptance. We are considering our options, and we're remaining very open. From that place of openness, then we can start taking action. In other words, We might want to research something. We might want to look into possibilities. We might want to start asking questions and be curious. We want to see from other perspectives. We might say, what do you see here? What do you see here? And yet never lose sight of our own inner wisdom, because our own inner wisdom is what has the ultimate truth for us. So part of this idea of being in research is to truly be in information gathering mode. There's no right or wrong. We're having a conversation with people, we're reading books, we're reading articles, we're watching video clips, whatever it is, but we're staying open and we're just gathering information. There's no attachment in this process, okay? And then once we start bringing that research, we start to see a whole array of possibilities. Okay, I've looked at this isn't going to work because of that, or that's going to work because of that. But what we also might discover in our research is, oh my God, why didn't I see that before? Why didn't I know this before? How did I get myself into this situation? In my health example, I had done a lot of research before the last surgery I had, a ton of it, or so I thought. And I went through a process again that kind of sent me into yet another little stage of grief where, not as big as when when I first kind of re-injured, but yet going back into another stage of grief where I went, my God, how could I not have looked at that or considered that? And the answer is because you couldn't. You couldn't. If you could, you would have. I really believe in that we have to trust that we're right where we need to be, because that's the key to what we need to be doing and learning at that particular time. So in all that openness, in all that research, and looking at our options, etc., we might end up finding ourselves back in a stage of grief where we want to beat ourselves up and have this sort of self-deprecation, regrets, all of that kind of thing that sends us into a tailspin again. Take care to be gentle with yourself in this. This is part of cultivating that courage and the resilience to overcome the adversities. Just understanding that there are stages you're going to go through. You're going to experience these things. And then finally, as you begin to come back into that, again, place of acceptance, you're right where you are, you've got all this research, you gather it all together. And you begin to see a pattern maybe, or you begin to see a story emerging. And even before you know fully what that story is, you begin to share. You begin to say, listen to what I've learned. Listen to what I've discovered. Or you begin to use what you've learned to help others. Maybe you're a parent and you are using the learning to guide your children in a new way. This is what learning is all about. This is what this incredible cycle is of our learning and our challenges that we are constantly moving through. So we are facing challenges all the time. And sometimes they're really, really big. The adversity can be massive. And we have to let ourselves grieve. We have to let ourselves come to that place of greater acceptance so that we can see the options that we have from a place of centeredness and groundedness, so that we can open up to possibilities, open up with no judgment, no attachment, open to the learning that we have in front of us. We can research from that place of openness and begin to see maybe a new vision coming together, see new possibilities, new circumstances, new perspectives that we can then work with. And we can also take care to catch ourselves, catch the regrets, catch the self-deprecation that we might fall into, remembering that this is a spiral journey. We're always, hopefully widening the spiral so that as time goes on, we spend less and less time in some of these more difficult places, but we're often revisiting them in new ways. And then ultimately coming to that place where we've gathered things together and we're sharing it, we're offering it back to the world through our use of the tools that we've learned, through our teachings of what we've learned and the lessons we've learned, and through our own actions and choices and decisions that we now make from a new place. So I hope that is supportive in guiding you to look at how you can move through some of life's most difficult challenges and experiences of adversity so that you can really step into the fullness that life has to offer, and remember that you have all the gifts to deal with whatever life throws at you, and you will be stronger for it. I look forward to sharing more of my journey in terms of what I'm learning. I am blown away at what I've learned in the last year since I had injured myself, and I'm researching what my next options are health-wise. And I am in that place where I've done a tremendous amount of research and I'm beginning to gather it together. And it's that process, for example, that has brought this video to you. This learning, this learning of dealing with the grieving process, and or the process of, you know, opening to options and opening to new perspectives, and detaching from outcomes, and really kind of coming through this in a humbling way that can help me to share more in the world around cultivating our true selves.